Hey everybody, Jimmy with the Triple C Collective here, and today we are ready to celebrate our Independence Day. And with me today is my cousin Mike Murphy, who not only being my cousin of like our entire lives, he and his wonderful wife Elizabeth have a little small business that they have. And Mike, I want to give you a minute or two talk about Cozy Camper before we dive into Independence Day.
I'd love to do that, Jimmy. Thanks so much for having me here. My name is Mike Murphy. I'm the owner of Cozy Camper Mobile RV Services. We do RV inspections before people buy them, kind of like a home inspector, but for RVs. We also have some social media channels. Our biggest channel is Facebook, but we're working on our YouTube. We just had a video a couple weeks ago. It was our first ever 100,000 view YouTube video. So totally stoked about that. YouTube is a lot niche than Facebook that we've learned, but our goal is to just help educate the RV community. There's a lot of RV stuff in this movie.
Okay, good. I'm Fly. I'm Pilot.
Independence Day. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. So much for having me here, Jimmy.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here, Mike. I am so excited that we can go ahead and dive into Independence Day. Because if I'm being honest, this was a movie me and you saw 30 odd years ago, or like 30 years ago when it came out in the summer of 1996. And I mean, that's kind of like what the 90s were for us. Like, seeing like Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, seeing what obviously all the Star Trek movies that were released in the 90s and stuff, like Phantom Menace and everything. And obviously Independence Day, Men in Black, all of these wonderful movies. We really have a sci-fi lean to us, if we're being honest. There's no denying that. But like, so I do have a vivid memory of me, you, and your dad seeing this. Do you have like that same memory, or do you have what is your first like remembrance of seeing this movie?
Okay, so I remember seeing it. I saw commercials for it way before it came out, and I was like, "That's the movie." Like, I want to see Independence Day so bad. For whatever reason, my dad, who was the movie guy, I mean, he took us to tons of movies. He was like not interested in seeing it at all. Like for whatever reason, he didn't want to go see it. And like you mentioned, you rattled off a bunch of movies. Instead, like I mean, he obviously took us, but movies that he was an emphatic yes to over this were like Starship Troopers with full frontal nudity, Event Horizon, uh, with all of its horrible violence, all came out within a couple of years of each other, right? Alien Resurrection, which was wildly inappropriate for like a 7 or 8 year old in the movie theater. Those movies, he was like, oh yeah, we'll go see Alien, totally fine, no sweat. For whatever reason, he was against seeing this movie, and then this one was, as much as I love all those other ones, this is by far my favorite from any of those. And like to this day, I give him a hard time for that absolute lack of judgment.
That's so awesome. I also remember in 2016, you hit me up. You were like, "Hey, me and the crew, we're going to see Resurgence. You in?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I got to keep the tradition going. 20 years later, have to do it." So like, yeah, we've seen both of these movies in theaters, which is just awesome. And I guess before we dive in, is there any preamble of this movie that you want to talk about or kind of get off your chest before we dive into it?
No, I watched it again last night with my son, who's 7. So he would have been your age, right? When we went to go see it. I'm just a few months older than you. And he enjoyed it, but definitely not to the same extent that we did. And it's like such a like Hollywood has changed, like media has changed so much since then. And like he's used to watching, whatever franchise, and then there's unlimited other content to watch in that franchise, right? Like, because you can go online, and even if you get through all of the official content for that franchise, there's unlimited fan made content. And now with AI, there's even more, right? Whereas, like, you and I watched it, like, that's the movie. Like that's it. Like it had a tie-in video game and like some like a novel and a comic book and like, but that's it.
Yeah,
So that's it. There's not more. So if we wanted to like this movie more, we had just had to watch it again and again. And like last night when I bought the Blu-ray for this, it had like an extended version, and I was like, sweet, free Independence Day, right? Let's do it. But the one thing that I was thinking about when I was watching it was just how much things have changed in the 30 years since this movie has come out. Like it's totally unrecognizable. I think the second movie that you mentioned was a little bit of a consequence of that change in Hollywood over 30 years. It's
yeah,
definitely a very different movie. Um, but it was after he settled down and he started to watch it and got into it. It was nice to see him like actually enjoy a standalone IP. That was, it's just a bunch of fun.
right. Because it's like, oh my gosh, I mean, it's just like everything's an IP machine, and like, yeah, this has turned into it a little bit, with the second movie and stuff. But like, my gosh, like the '90s blockbusters. There was something about those movies, Jurassic Park, this, all of them, that like it meant a fun time, and like that's what Independence Day is. Because rewatching this for me, the first 25 minutes, like you're not with anyone more than like 2 or 3 minutes at a time, and you are flying by, like between the like alien introduction of them just like flying over the moon and stuff to like the little Star Wars homage and stuff, because naturally every sci-fi movie since Star Wars A New Hope has to throw in that ship coming over and like giving you that. I mean, even JJ Abrams played it back with Force Awakens. Like it's just a beautiful thing. um we also get It's the End of the World playing by REM. And again, this song, I feel like, played nonstop for us for like 3 4 years because of this movie.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like the editing, the first part of the movie, like this is not like absolute cinema, right? But it is
Right.
like like a perfect popcorn movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the first like few minutes, like what's perfect about it is that it's unassuming, and it's not like there's not like a professor with like all of his papers running down the hallway like, oh, the world's gonna. It's just a bunch of regular dudes like living their lives, right?
Yeah.
And in like you said, like 2 minutes of exposition, like even the president, he's like a dad and like a veteran, right? Like he's not, some at the beginning, he's not like a legendary creature. He's like, oh, I'm getting ragged on in the news. He gives the Secret Service agent the newspaper, right? Like the movie goes to great lengths to just be like, these are just like regular dudes. Like guy works at the cable company, and like that's like so nice that like not everybody is a Jedi master, right? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
like and that like, and each like literally every single person has like a little journey to go through during the movie. And it starts like perfectly in those first few seconds. I think that was what was hard for my son to watch, was because like, yeah, that's how you make a movie, is with a little exposition at the beginning. But like they
Yeah.
don't like, now it's like, hey, the world has to explode in the first 20 seconds of every movie.
Yeah.
Whereas like this, like, no, this guy and his dad are playing chess, so you understand their relationship. And I like it's almost sweet, like to look back on now.
It really is, because like it's a slice of life. That's what they like call this kind of stuff. Like typically you would see this in like a montage where it happens a lot quicker. They do like extend it out, but like this is the slice of life montage, and it's exactly what that is. It sets up everybody. You get to learn a little bit about everybody, but at the same time, like the little bit that you get, exactly who these people are. Like David and his dad playing chess, Stephen Hiller and Jasmine and little Dylan and stuff. Like all of that is just so perfectly, pitch perfectly like made, and just like depicted on screen, that it's that like literally rewatching it, I ended up having to pause like shortly after like David and his dad start driving to DC. And I was just like, I just want to see like what it is. I checked the length and I was like, holy cow, this movie is 2 hours and 24 minutes long, which also doesn't feel that long because this movie flies. The pacing is actually really well done in this. Um, like Connie and the president and everything. I just love this whole first 25 minutes because it's that slice of life and they do it so well. Um, how about you? Anything else before we move on?
No, the first like the pace of the movie is like, and we'll get ahead of ourselves a little bit here, but it's like perfect. Like it ratchets up like all the way to the explosion, and you're like, in like watching, like, blown away by it, and then it like slows down a little bit again,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like just for like a breath. And again, with ADHD boy watching the movie with me, and like as the movie it does that a couple times, right? Because it slows down again like
Mm-hmm.
later on in the movie, and then it comes back when they come back with their new plan. And like I watched him like respond to it. um and but yeah, no, the pacing, I really appreciate it at the beginning. And like honestly, even having seen the movie a million times, like after like the bombs fall, you're like, all right, I like need a minute to like decompress and like get ready for the next scene because it's so intense for the first, half hour, 45 minutes of the movie. And yeah, that's the thing. Like Elizabeth remarked, she's like, this is like a really long movie. And I was like, I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Like this is like shocking. You would think it's like, a 90-minute, popcorn movie, but it's not. It's like a 2.5 hour ordeal.
Yeah, right. It's like a 2.5 hour ordeal. And even then, like now after that first like 25 minutes, we start staying in places a little bit more. But even then, it is wicked fast. Like, we get the like basically we're at the White House, alien ships move in, cities are in chaos, and David finally gets his chance, his piece to Jeff Goldblum finally gets his piece of being like, he's not going to listen. He's not going to listen. Connie's like, David, tell him. Still, like, amazing performances by everybody. Like Jeff Goldblum is nailing the like science guy roles at this time because he did like what I think it's in 88 or 89 he does that like double, maybe it's even 1990. He does the TV movie Double Helix. In 88, he does The Fly with David Cronenberg. He does Jurassic Park in 93. And then he does Independence Day in 96. Like, he's just like Jeff Goldblum, the science guy, man. Like, and he, the way, even we're getting a little bit of our head of ourselves too, but at Area 51, when he breaks down the plan, like, that's a lot of exposition, but like he makes it fun and unique, and it's great. Um, so this stuff with the like traffic jams and the like welcome wagon and stuff. What about this portion of the movie for you? What do you love, hate? What is it?
Okay, so we were the welcome wagon, like visually, was like so dissimilar from
Mhm.
like really any, like they have like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, right? You have something where like you have some kind of reference for trying to communicate with it another way, but like like the idea of like, hey, we're gonna get like some lights from a stadium and strap them to a helicopter. Like you're like, it was a cool visual, right? And then for it to go like fly up there, and it's loaded with cool visuals. And something I don't want to skip, and it's in this part of the movie too, is like in the beginning of the movie, and a little bit later on, they keep cutting back to like the news, right?
Mhm.
Like some newscaster talking about what's going on. Like, hey, Los Angelinos are reminded not to fire your guns at the, like there's this crazy thing happening, but like the little cuts to the news. Like are your slice of life, right? Where we're just like, hey, like people are at home watching this on TV. Like
Yep.
that's you. Like that's you. You're not trying to be Luke Skywalker. You're like this guy who's just watching this on the news. And the what I thought was cool, you mentioned the I mean traffic, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
the welcome wagon thing that was cool is I think like as the viewer watching it, you're like, what the hell is this thing? Like what are we trying to do here? Which is exactly the reaction you would have if you were watching it on TV, right? And then like the horror of it being shot down, like totally unprovoked,
Yeah.
is what you would experience if you were watching it on TV, right? Like so the movie has like a really cool POV where yeah, you are watching all these other people's stories, but it's just you, right? You're watching
Yeah,
it through your lens, like you're thinking like, because each of these characters, like, oh, dude, I've woken up late on a Sunday, right? Will Smith's character, I've been hassled at work as soon as I walk in the door. So like, yeah,
right.
you're perceiving it through all these regular things, and that's a really cool way to start a movie. I did I did judge, for the viewer who's never seen me before. Like I was a police officer for a long time. There's that sequence where there's a traffic jam and the cop gets out of the car in the middle of the road and blocks it. I was like, come on, bro. Like you need to be a little bit more professional. You know better, even when there's an alien spacecraft to block traffic. Like that's not going to work for you. So there's one thing that it did take me out of the movie because I'm like, hey, you know better. But I get why it's in there. That's not really a criticism.
that no, 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 no. That's amazing because that is part of like your perspective and stuff on that. Is that like you see, like you can put the fantasy away and then you're just like, but wait a second, dude. Like, cop, come on, don't do this. Like, this is
Yeah, and
simple
there's the
stuff.
other officer who's on like horseback, and he turns around and bails. I'm like, that's what a cop would do. Like, if a
Hmm.
cop saw an alien, like, what am I gonna do? Like, tell it
Hmm.
to stop, blow my whistle at it? No, the cop who like bails out on horseback. I'm like, that's the realistic take.
Right?
Like a
Get
cop in a
get.
police car would J turn and get out of there. Like he would not be stopping in the middle of the road.
That's oh my gosh, it's so funny. And then we get some of the like some of the most iconic images I think from like 90s action disaster movies is the first strike of like the seeing it shoot down into the Empire State Building, the building in LA, and then of course the White House blow up, which is like iconic imagery. I mean, like they put it on the on the DVD. It's in your background on your TV. Like it's iconic, and it's crazy to think that the U.S. government and like the army and everything was cool with them doing this in the 90s because the way that that works is that like the military and stuff, if you're going to like shoot or use their like things like that, they have final say of the script. So like the fact that they were cool with all this, it just kind of blows my mind. Just blows my mind, both like literally and like
It's
figuratively of
very
like what we're seeing on screen.
it's like so yeah, like it is totally iconic. Like the VHS tape had like the hologram where you would like move it and the White House would explode. I mean, I don't know how many hours I spent just looking at the front of the tape, right?
Right?
But like yeah, so like that's the other part is um and my family and I were talking about this morning, like the special effects from this movie 100% hold up.
Yep.
Like like 1000%. Like I would take Independence Day. Like if you could find someone that had never seen a movie before and you took them and you were like, "Hey, watch the sequence from Independence Day and then watch this one from like an Avengers movie and tell me which one looks more real." I really think they would say Independence Day all day because even my son was like, "How did they do that? Like how did they blow up those buildings?" And I'm like, well, there's a documentary. You can watch it late. Like he's actually really into that. But I'm like,
Nice.
yeah, it's like some combination of miniatures and CGI, and it probably took the studio to make this,
Mhm.
months. And they have one shot at making it, right? Like uh absolutely like to this day, like every like it became you mentioned like the Star Wars like ship flying overhead,
Mhm.
like every disaster movie since this one has tried like because even what Roland Emmerich is the
Yeah.
director producer, right? Like he did it again in like a number of his movies after this where some landmark could be destroyed. It's like its own trope, but this was like the first time, and like the marketing imagery was all like the White House exploding, and like that
Hmm.
was like I think that got a lot of people into the theater, like just to see that. Absolutely iconic imagery, which has you can't unsee it for the first time.
Right. You can't unsee it for the first time. I oh my god. Yeah, this is this movie, this sequence is just so great. But this sequence they use as you were like like saying like the mixture of like miniatures and models and stuff. In the commentary track for it, they like talk about models, which is basically miniatures. And they but that's why it works because it's like what they did in the original Star Wars of like why that stuff still works. It's like it's the mixture and the blend of physical tactile things that look really good, but then you use the special effects to make it look, quote unquote perfect for like whoever the director's final like say or whatever. And but yeah, this movie is heavily made with that blend and that idea going into it, and it works. Like I agree, there the things that like stand out most to me are fire in this movie. That's the most like wonky honkiest stuff that I see in it. But like again, I am just so in for the ride that it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter that the fire don't look real, because you know what? I don't know what those aliens shoot. Maybe they make weird fire when shit blows up in America and stuff and like across the world here. I don't know. But like it's incredible. And even when they finally get onto Air Force One, and Air Force One is flying, and the like flames almost take up like the back of the tail of Air Force One. Uh, like even just talking about it right now, heart racing. Like I love it. It's so good. That's what this movie is supposed to do. You're talking about the roller coaster ride of emotions, and like it's just all there.
So I think the difference there is, you know, when you talk about miniatures, right? You're employing someone that like is at the height of their trade and they really love it, right? Like they love it. Like they know, like, hey, this is my thing. I'm going to do it. And you're almost like, I remember I was watching it this time and I remember thinking like, oh, the fire doesn't really look real, but like I don't know what it is. It doesn't really matter because you can whatever the plasma is igniting the atmosphere or something. Like we can exposition it away if we really need to, but like I think that's the difference is, you hear about like back in the day, it'd be, I don't know if it was Industrial Lights and Magic on this production, but like those people like woke up and this is all they thought about, right? Like
Yeah,
they were passionate about it. Now a lot of special effects are done like outside and they're done by people that know how to run a PC and maybe they don't care as much. And they're all, I'm not knocking them, as there are definitely still some talented artists. I don't think the heart is there in a lot of productions like it like clearly is in this one. Like this was clearly something that a special effects team really loved on and wanted to get the shots right. And I don't think that you see that a lot anymore. But yeah, like objectively, the part where like Boomer jumps in front of the fire, like, you know, doesn't really hold up from a technical standpoint, but it's a delight, right? Like my son was like, if anything happens to this dog, I'm gonna lose it, right? Like he was super engaged at that moment, and so I'm okay with it, and I think it's because it's like this intangible thing. It's like the love that you can sense went into it.
mm-hmm.
It's almost like why you can like watch like Star Trek from the '60s, and you're not really worried that the special effects are cheesy because like it was the best they could do then, right? Like giant
Right.
floating space hand, like they it was like that was the best they could do, and they still told a compelling story. The special effects are like their own character, um, that are just as important as anybody else.
Well, one of the things that like we've been talking about is the emotional aspect of these characters. They do a really good job of making you all care about it. So like the scene with Boomer, the dog, like jumping in with the fire behind him, like we pass on the look of the fire because we care way more about the survival of that dog than we do
Right.
about how anything else looks behind him. We're like, if something happens to that dog, we riot, like, so like I get it, especially with like your son and everything of how you said he responded to it. Like it totally makes sense. Um, and then like as you were saying, like we get the down, beat of it. Like we get that reflection, they're trying to figure out like all of the damage, like where this the president's wife, like how do we respond to this stuff? And it's a really great like kind of like bashing of the heads and stuff of like what we need to do, how we get this done. It's like a good think tank kind of the movie. And I do, as much as I love the action in it, I do love like this is a well written movie with fun dialogue, and like I just love these speeches. Like even when Julius is like, "Don't you say that about my David? You'd all be dead without him." You know, without what is it? That Area 51 and stuff. Like all of that, amazing, amazing. Judd Hirsch, like love the dude. He's a legend.
Yeah, you know what I was watching that scene, and I thought what was cool about it was everybody in that scene kind of like reverted to sort of the archetype of like who they're supposed to represent, right? So you have like the president, he's getting on the one hand, you've got like General Gray and the military dudes, and you've got the Secretary of Defense, and they're kind of
And
chirping back
Zicky,
at each other. Yeah, Nimziki, right? And it was something that was cool was so he comes in, stop talking about my David, and then the president instantly switches into politician mode and he's like, "Listen, there's no alien spaceship," which is exactly what he would do if he was like shaking hands at a campaign event and someone asked him about Area 51,
right?
right? Like what like how cool was that like there's still these other people, right? They didn't all transform into Jedi warriors after one event. They're still human beings that are trying to work through it and they're still motivated by kind of like the old world things. Like he knew about Area 51, like legitimately, and he never thought about saying anything until this point because, as they discuss later, like plausible deniability. And it's like, hey man, like that's gone because the aliens are here now.
The
Um,
second they showed up, like
yeah,
I'm with General Gray on that. The second they showed up, you should have been squawking, my guy.
right. But as a guy who works for the government or has had, I don't work for the government anymore, listeners, but as a guy who has worked for the government, that is 100% what would happen in real life. Like people will silo information. And so I was watching that. I'm like, still believable. Even at that point in the movie. So yeah, and the dialogue is great and the way they represent themselves and kind of who like, you know, what's, David's father's name in the movie? I can't think of it.
Julius,
Julius. Like Julius is just supposed to be like your average kind of boomer character, right? Like chewing people out. Like that's awesome. That's who he's supposed to be, and that's who he is through the whole movie.
vultures.
Exactly.
um, and then they they don't know where the president's wife is. They finally come up with a response, and we get like this is where we get the reintroduction to like Will Smith's character, Stephen Hiller, and the Knights, and this is really it's really funny with he gets the rejection letter from NASA, and that's not funny, but where his buddy Jimmy is like, dude, they're never gonna let you fly a spaceship if you marry a stripper. And this is the first time in the whole movie that we find out that Jasmine was a stripper. All we were ever led to believe to this point was that she's just a mom trying to raise her kid and has a boyfriend and stuff trying to make it work. And it was something in the commentary track that they said that they were like, yeah, if we would have shown her as like a stripper first, nobody would have cared about her. But if we showed her as a human first and then showed her like profession, we really felt that like people would have gone with her emotional arc a lot more. And I was like, that's a goddamn great note because I tend to agree with that. And it was like it's things like that show that like they as much as they cared about like the popcorn and the action and like the special effect, like they cared about the characters and all these storylines making it work. And like at the top I even talked about it, I was like 2 hours and 24 minutes for 1996 like popcorn movie, that's long, but like it works too because like everybody has an arc, and I feel like by the end of it everyone's arc is at least wrapped up or at like a satisfying end to some to one degree or another. And it's really great when we see this. But this first attack on the alien ship with the knights and stuff, the, like this and the first explosion, like I do remember being like, oh, and like on the big screen seeing it for the first time. Oh man.
Yeah, so first, Jimmy, I always resented you because there was a character named Jimmy in the movie, but which was, Bull. But yeah, so you get that little pullback, and then now the Knights are going to attack. And yeah, we mentioned a Star Wars trope at the beginning. Well, what happens at the end of this sequence, right? They dive bomb into the canyon, and they escape it, which is that's just the Death Star trench run. That's all it is. And like the new Top Gun movie had a Death Star trench run. It's a trope that works. This movie, did it pretty well. I mean, Top Gun really like laid into it, where they even had to like shoot the bomb into it at the back. But this one was just about escaping.
Right.
And so like yeah, it succeeded as an action sequence, but then also it was kind of its own like little mini arc of rising action and then falling, right? Like the sequence of Will Smith, like after he lands and he punches the alien, right? Welcome to Earth, right? Like that's its own reward by itself. Um, and again, also though, still more character drama because we're adding in like, hey, you get to see El Toro and you see their squadron, and then the director makes the choice to like have them attack a defenseless El Toro, right? So like, and then later in the movie Jasmine turns up and sees it all smashed. What I appreciate about choices like that, and you talked about Jasmine being the stripper, is that like each of these like narrative choices actually matters to the like person in the movie, and like it changes something to the viewer. Like so, you know, um, it would have been easy to like have a little subplot where like maybe Will Smith didn't get into NASA for like a racial thing, but like
Mhm.
that's not what happened. Like that was put into the movie to give him like a reward later in the movie for going to space, right? Like, so not that you can't tell that story, but in a lot of movies, particularly now, they'll like sprinkle that stuff in, and you're like, what does that have to do? Like, how does that impact me in or like make any difference to the narrative of the story? And a lot of times it doesn't. In this movie, like every little inject was really good. And I don't know if you watched the extended version, which is different than the theatrical version. But one of the cutscenes that didn't work was like when they were driving around like burned down Los Angeles. There was like an evangelical, and he was reading from a Bible, and he was like, "The end is near," and they cut that out correctly because it added absolutely nothing to the movie, right?
Right.
And so it was like I really felt like all the little injects were really tight and really well done. And even giving Will Smith the best friend who has to die, right? You gave it a little comedy beat in the middle so that there'd be something, so you're not like, oh my god, this is terrible. Um, I do wish that Jimmy did make it, but unfortunately Jimmy did not, and we're left with this Jimmy now.
And like Henry Connick Jr., amazing. Like he's perfect as Jimmy, as the wingman and stuff. Everything about it is great. Like his demise is sad. Like it's like well earned because like he's really charismatic in it. Like I mean, nobody's spitting more charisma than Will Smith in this movie. But like Henry Connick Jr. is like keeping up with Will Smith and whatnot. I mean, so is like Jeff Goldblum. But like if Jeff Goldblum doesn't hold his own with Will Smith, I don't think this movie, the back half of this movie, does not work. Like everything going up into space and all of that, like all of the like, oh, they're taking over the controls. Oh, why didn't you tell me? Oops, we got to work on our community. Like none of that stuff works if those two don't work. So like again, I love it, but everything is earned, like all of the character arcs and stuff. Like that's why we care, and that's why it matters, and that's why we're like, that's why like yeah, that's why they probably did cut out the evangelical guy, because it's like that's not an earned like thing. They didn't really. The only thing that they talk about religion really is with Judd Hirsch's character Julius, and like his thing is that like he starts talking to God again, like despite his wife being gone and whatnot. Like he sees the bigger picture now, that like even if, and like when Nimzinski sits down and it's like he's like, I'm not Jewish, no, nobody's perfect. I love it. But we do get Jasmine finding the keys, driving around. We get Russ and his kids, like they keep moving because we haven't really talked much about Russell Case, to this point. He dusted the wrong farm. He's played by Randy Quaid before he went off the deep end, and that's I'm trying to be kind. And and I just Randy Quaid's character is out of this world. Like the Russell Case character is insane.
Yeah, I have two thoughts. I was watching it. First, their RV is I think a 1968 Winnebago Brave, which was still sold as a floor plan as late as 2016. But that was first. I was paying attention to that. But second, I was, when we can talk at length about his story arc, a lot of his story got cut. Like of all the little character things that we talked about, like I don't know if you saw the whole thing, but like the deleted scenes and stuff, but like you learn way more about his family. The son being sick and the wife that died, and how like
Yep.
the younger two kids are actually his and the older one isn't. And you learn like so much, and all of that gets cut, but both versions kind of succeed. Like the theatrical version where you don't really see much, like you're just like, oh, whatever, he's a dad. It's fine. The
Mhm.
other version, you learn a little bit more about him, and that's cool too, right? But from like a theatrical, like the longer story kind of slows the movie down just a hair,
Yeah.
and so I can understand why the director would want to cut it. But and there's like some like subplots with the one daughter, like she's trying to find a boyfriend, and Russell Case doesn't like that. Anyway,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, no, that was because and in my mind's eye, right? Like watching the movie, when I think back about it, watching back in the day, Russell Case, the only thing I think about is like him crashing the spaceship, right? That's
Right.
it. But like actually, like when you watch it, you're like, oh wait, he actually had a lot more to do. And in the director's cut, whatever it's called, extended version, he had like way more to do, a bigger part in the movie. So, um,
it, that's actually what I found out when I read the comic is a lot more of his story. Like they explain now. To be fair, they don't for his middle child being sick, or the middle child, whatever his first child, being sick. They show a couple of times of like the kid trying to get medicine and the kid like laying down. So they show you and like the kid pukes. So they give you a few moments because this is me as like an editor of like, well, we give them these moments that like allow the audience to see that this kid is sick. We don't necessarily need to spell it all the way out. But the one thing that I always found crazy about the change for Russell Case is actually we'll talk about it at the end, but it's about the plane that he flies. Originally, there was a whole different thing in there, and yeah, this I just love it. We talked about like Area 51 and like all of that on Air Force One and everything. I love that Jet. This movie introduced me in 1996 to check the visor of any abandoned car for keys. It is I like have noticed it in movies since and like other movies had it prior, but this for sure is like the first movie that I remember seeing that in, and it like as soon as she does that I was like, oh yeah, that's right, this is where I saw that from. um I love, as we talked about Russ and Hiller meeting, Welcome to Earth, punching him. Uh, my favorite thing though is at the Area 51 where he arrives and he's like, "I'm sorry, Captain, I can't let you in here without clearance." He's like, "Oh, clearance? Hey, come here. How about that?" And he shows him the alien. That clearance, is that enough clearance for you? Get the hell out of the way with the odd like Spaceballs weird stormtrooper guy that has that like white helmet on. Like that was just rewatching it. I was just like, huh, that's weird. I don't remember ever seeing that in the military before.
yeah, no, that I, it's hard to believe that like while at war, the border, the base guards would not notice this armada of RVs descending on them through the white sand desert.
Right.
Um, but also though, like, hey, I'm at the base with the aliens. Some dude turns up with an alien. I'd probably let him pass.
Yeah.
I'd,
Right.
yeah, like he probably should go inside. Like we're not going to let the alien sit out here.
No, 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 no. I want no part of that.
Yeah, no, let him go. We'll figure it out later.
I also love Brett Spiner's introduction here as Dr. Oaken. And like he is out of his mind. I love his like crazy hair and stuff. In the comic they talk about a little bit of his predecessor, and like you see when he first takes over the lab and everything at Area 51. Um but like Brett Spiner, he plays these really like obviously Star Trek Data, and but seeing him here, like it's like two sides of the same coin. Just like one has a little bit more pep to their personality, like um but I've always just loved this performance. It's so eccentric, it's so crazy. It's just I don't know. What about you and Dr. Ogan and Brett
Yeah,
Spiner?
obviously I love Dr. Oken because he's Data, right? But um, the other thing about which I really appreciate, and you kind of touched on at the beginning about like '90s kind of sci-fi culture, is in my mind's eye, Dr. Oken is like your '90s hardcore X-Files like sci-fi nerd, right? Like that's what in my mind's eye they look like, right? I mean, I was alive then, and then the other doctor that's with him with like dark hair and a goatee. I'm like, that's what like a real '90s sci-fi nerd look like, right? Like, and so like those two are like kind of bookmarks that represent like actual sort of '90s nerd culture. I'm like, yeah, that's what they look like. I remember. Um, my dad had that goatee back then, right? But he
Right.
still does. But but yeah, so I thought that, and then what I liked about the performance of him just being like a mad scientist and like being um totally isolated and like not like he's been so focused on his work for so long. He's like cracking jokes with the president who like, yeah, 100 million people just died, right? And he doesn't have the presence of mind to like, maybe try to be a little sensitive because it probably doesn't matter to him. I don't even know how aware of it he is at this point in the movie, or if it makes any difference to him. Absolutely loved it. Brent Spiner will chew the scenery on like any movie that he's in, like in Star Trek. I mean, he played just in Star Trek, right? He played Data, he played Lore, he played his own father, he played a different brother, he played his ancestor, and there was one episode where he played like 18 different personalities in one, and like that's just what he does. Like Brent Spiner is a guy that you can vaguely describe a character to him, and he'll go ham for it.
Right. And like he takes again he takes a lot of like exposition and stuff here, and like because of his like eccentricities, like he's just great. It's so fun to like watch him on screen and everything. um we talked about Jasmine arriving at like El Toro. We also, before we leave Area 51, I love when they see the three dead aliens, calls them the freak show. But I also love at the end of that where the president is like going to David. He's like, "Show him the code you found. Let's all hope you're as smart as we hope you are," and stuff. I just love that. Uh, and I also love this little reunion at El Toro. Like Jasmine's there. It's wrecked. She finds the first lady. She's talking with the first lady. I find that conversation to be incredible, actually. Of like, of oh, you're a dancer. Oh, ballet. And she's like, no, exotic. And then she's like, oh, sorry. And then like again, she's like, don't be. I'm not. Uh, I love all of it, but that reunion of like they keep playing it back of like you're late. You know how I like to make an entrance and stuff. I love when they repeat things like that in movies, with characters and their different arcs and stuff. I love it. Um How about you? Anything to add here before we move on to the alien dissection?
Well, no. So first, president's first lady, it's Mary McDonnell is the actor, I think, right?
Yeah.
And like she's like a tremendous actor. Like she's
Yeah.
amazing, right? And I think she played the president in Battlestar Galactica, which is probably my favorite TV show of all time. But like she did a great job, like you said with Jasmine. So she's supposed to be like this like elite woman with grace, and she's talking to Jasmine, the stripper, and
Hmm.
like the viewer, she like apologizes, and then she's like, "Nah, it's good, I'm taking care of my son," right? Like the slice of life uh, perspective from just somebody who's working hard. She's a regular person, and you're like, oh yeah, that's true. She seems like she's a good mom, right? And
Yeah.
Will
Yeah.
Smith's
Right.
character loves her, right? Like, I think one of the things I think they cut in the theatrical version, to back up a bit, was like at the strip club scene. They she has her friend there, and she's like, oh, don't go to the welcome party or whatever.
Yeah.
Cut scene. Uh, Dylan is actually at the strip club in the office, like with Boomer,
Oh yeah.
and I was like, I think that would have wrecked like the good mom angle if like if in the theatrical version he would have been at the strip club, because you'd have been like, oh, that's like totally inappropriate, but you don't see that in the theatrical version. So that's another
Hmm.
thing I think that was cut correctly, because if I
Yeah.
remember the theatrical version, it's just like she's like bye, and then it's like a hard cut and it's on to somebody else.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah. Yeah.
theatrical version, she argues with her boss. Dylan comes out of the office with Boomer, and then they leave. And I was like, oh, that's good. So like looking at it as a whole thing, you're like, oh yeah, it preserves like the good. I'm not If anybody listens to this, I'm not suggesting that like a stripper can't like have their kid in the back of the bar and not be a good mom. That's not what I'm saying. I think that the for the moviegoer, it was the correct decision to cut that sequence so that you wouldn't even have to have the argument.
Yep. Agreed. This alien dissection scene that we get here has like haunted my nightmares for like years because it's so gross and goopy when they like cut into the biomechanical suit or whatever they're calling it. And it like cutting in then to the like slices of the like slimy inside and stuff like ugh, I love it. And but this scene has always been kind of very creepy and unsettling, but also like kind of one of the more terrifying scenes in this, because once that alien wakes up and like starts like causing chaos, it's wild. Um, one of my favorite things about the commentary track though is they were like, so all the tentacles on the alien, they're like moving crazy in that scene, and it's because they have an entire team of like tentacle movers just constantly like moving these things in all directions just at all times, and it really just adds to the chaos of it. And it's just awesome. um
Yeah, it's a brilliant sequence, because first there's like a couple of like the movie decides to be a horror movie for a minute, right?
right.
And it's like we're gonna be horror now, just for a minute, and it does a couple of really good jump scares like back to back, um, and which is great. And then like so you've got Brent Spiner who's kind of narrating it. He's like, oh, here's the really icky part, and then there's another actor. God, I can't think of his name, but he's in the sequence with him, and he was in it. He was in I should pull up IMDb, right? But he was in Saving Private Ryan, and he's like the pilot that crashed and like the general died. He was in like a couple episodes of Star Trek, and he always plays like kind of like a squirmy guy. Like he only has like three lines, but just this like little inject of like anxiety. I think he's the one that says like the arm is moving, right?
Hmm.
Like just like a little inject of anxiety there is like so well done. And like in a million other movies, like the arm moving first kind of signals to the watcher that something's going on. Absolutely, like dude, my son loved that scene. Like he's a horror fan, and he loved that sequence when the alien wakes up, and like also the sound design like of the aliens, like this mental screech. I don't know what else.
Yeah, the
It's like
whirring or
really
whatever.
it's disorienting, right? Like
Yeah.
because like all of a sudden like it goes from like this really kind of quiet, subdued soundtrack to the screeching. Everybody's freaking out. The smoke is shooting out of the wall. It's such a well done scene. And then at the end of it, what happens again? Quiet, ramp down, right? So back to quiet. So like, oh, this chaos happens, and then the door opens, and then they come in.
Right. Well, and then the door opens, they come in, and then they like, we get the no peace, die. We're learning basically everything we need to know about the aliens. Truly, up to that point, like up to that point, we're like, yeah, they're hostile towards us, but like, what do we want? What are they about and stuff? And it's just like they don't give a shit about us. They just want us to die so that we can, so they can take over our planet.
What is it you want us to do?
Again, one of my favorite lines is when the general goes, "Is that glass bulletproof?" And Adam Baldwin's like, "Nope," and just starts shooting. Like classic, so good. I I do. Then we get to the nukes. We get to the nukes. They finally get the first lady, like she's being seen. But this nukes, where they decide to drop a nuke in Houston, where they decide to drop a nuke in Houston. That's kind of in your backyard now, man.
It's true. We were, it's funny. My son asked me, cause again, he's really focused on the special effects, and he's just a kid. And he was like, did they really have to nuke Houston to make that movie, Dad? And I was like, no, son. Like, I was in Houston last week. I assure you that it's still very much there, but it looks good. With the nuke scene though, you're watching it from, the American point of view, obviously. I don't believe for 1 second the Russians would have waited to use the nukes. I don't know if they cover that in the comic books or anything, but I think the instant that alien ship fired, the Russians would have been firing nukes. I don't think the Chinese would have waited. I don't think the Pakistanis or the Indians would have waited. I can understand, like, President Whitmore is how an American would have reacted, but like I'm pretty sure, like, the Russians use nuke to seal oil wells and stuff. I really don't think that they would be waiting for anybody else to do anything. They'd be like, "Oh, we'll try it. We'll shoot 10 nukes if the American shoots one."
But that is funny because like that's one of the counterpoints that David is making is that, like at that point nobody's firing anything, but if we do it then everybody's going to be firing them and then it's going to be even worse for everybody. But yeah, you're probably not right. Or you're probably not wrong. I believe Russia would probably, yeah, they probably would have been firing.
100% immediately. There would be no delay, nor would there be any conversation. The Russians will sacrifice 1 million people to save like 1.1 million people. So they don't care at all. I really think they would have blown it up the second Moscow got hit, immediately. And beyond that, like Saddam probably would have been shooting chemical weapons at it. Like I really think that like all these people would have been taking from their toolboxes everything that was there. But from a narrative perspective, I understand that they were trying to say like, hey, we probably shouldn't be nuking our own planet.
Right. Then we also get, we're still in Area 51 and we're getting to the point of like David's plan of getting a cold. Well, really I should say it's his father's plan because he's like, I don't want you catching a cold. As he's trying to destroy inside Area 51, being like, if we screw up the planet enough, they won't want it. I don't think screwing up stuff inside of a building is really going to help your cause, my guy. I think you're fighting the wrong kind of battle right now.
I do have one question, and I was thinking about this. So earlier in the movie, they say that Jeff Goldblum can't drive,
Yep.
and then in the and then which for somebody in New York is not super uncommon, but
Right.
But then like and then he's like hammered drunk at the end. They kind of say like he punched the president. Maybe you told me that was in the. I was watching the movie. I'm like, did he have like an alcohol problem? I mean, is that why like they got like? Cause it seemed like that's kind of where it was going, but I didn't know if that's what
that's
happened.
really funny. In the comic, they don't say that he was drunk or anything. When he goes to punch President Whitmore, well, he's a senator at the time, anyhow. semantics, but no, they don't mention anything about like alcohol use for him then. But that's really funny. Because like that would be a logical conclusion to make of being like, oh, this, that, yeah, maybe that's why he had a problem, and then he's finally at his breaking point here. But on the flip side, I think he's just tries to do a healthy living, and limit of alcohol, no smoking and stuff like probably goes with that. But I have no idea in the end. Um, I do love the I do love the Coke can scene of like shooting the Coke can, shield up, gave it a computer virus. Um, Jeff Goldblum just cooks though right here because like he explains the computer virus and then like the whole like plan and everything, and this is like 3 minutes of exposition that should be boring as shit. But Jeff Goldblum and the firing of the cocaine, it all makes it like really compelling stuff. Like I'm not bored in that scene at all. Uh, One of the cool things though about the computer virus angle is that they talked about it on the commentary track that it comes from the idea of the end of spoilers for the end of War of the Worlds. If you have not read or seen the many adaptations of it, but at the end of War of the Worlds, the aliens die because of the common cold, because they have no immune system to the common cold or anything. So their idea was in 1996, what is the modern alien common cold? And they were like, oh, a computer virus. And so like that's what made them like make that leap to the computer virus for it. And I was like, God damn, that's great. I love that. I love that so much. Again, pulling from old sci-fi, stories and stuff to like create and make and borrow and tweak to this new fun adventure that we got with Independence Day.
Yeah, there was, and admittedly, I stepped out of the room for a second, but I know that there was some cut dialogue that explained that like the reason the computer virus would like work at all was because there was like they crashed the spaceship and we back engineered some of their technology, and the if I'm remembering correctly, like there was an argument that like the technology was compatible because some of humanity's like computing technology was derived from that. And this is like another one of these things where like I don't remember if it was a deleted scene or some kind of like beta canon thing, but that was like always the plot hole to me. I'm like, well, how are they going to use a MacBook to upload a virus to this computer? And it's like, oh, okay. Well, there's some exposition somewhere that maybe I didn't fully remember or got cut that explained it.
Um, I would assume that's a deleted scene if they explain anything like that. The like our current computers are derived from like that stuff from the 50s and whatnot. Because as far as I know, they don't say anything in that in the theatrical version or anything.
There And we before the cameras were rolling, we talked like I have some memory somewhere of reading something that said some of this stuff, but I have not been able to produce it. And it's like one of those things where like I might be thinking about Mars attacks, but it's in my head canon, whether it was actually real or not, that's why that works.
Yeah. Uh, then we get the coordinating of the worldwide attack via Morse code, which, if I'm being honest, is the wildest thing in this entire movie. Not the aliens coming to Earth, but the saving of the Earth is reliant on Morse code now. What? What? That's just like the one of the things that I'm just like, how does this even work? Really? But whatever.
I love that scene. It's to me, it's my son and I just watched Lord of the Rings over the last couple of weeks, and it's like the beacons of Gondor, right? Like it's the same kind of energy. I For years I have wanted to do some kind of sequence of this to like advertise my own business. I just haven't figured out the how to do it. I love that. It's another like perfect sequence where you get to see POV around the world again, right? So
Yeah.
you get to see like, hey, other people are like trying to work on this problem in isolation. Um, Also kind of a cool message because like, all right, cool, like we're in the desert. You've got Iraqi and like Syrian Air Force and Israeli Air Force and British Air Force and everybody's going to work together. Like that's a very 90s trope, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're all going to work together and save the planet. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not so in the 21st century, but like very 90s in a really cool thought to see that played out on screen. I know that it's kind of campy. You can make that argument for a lot of the movie, but I really like that scene.
Absolutely. Uh, the need more pilot scene, awesome. We get Russell Case. I can fly. I'm a pilot.
While he's absolutely hammered.
Yep.
I
I
I
won't
love
let
that.
you down.
Yeah, he's like the like a needed comic relief. He does really well in this movie. I mean, again, bordering on camp, not bordering. I mean, it is kind of campy, but I love it. It absolutely works for this sequence, and I think it's stuff like that that makes the movie not take itself too seriously, right? Because it would be easy to write this like really dramatic, heavy, the universe is going to explode, but then you introduce a Russell Case, and then you have Will Smith, Welcome to Earth, right? Punch the
Right.
thing in. So I think that stuff goes a long way. But I do love the I love to see like their uh, one of my favorite parts of that is they recruit the pilots, and you've got these dudes who are like clearly supposed to be like Vietnam vets, and then uh, uh, they ask him about his. Adam Baldwin's character is like, "Oh, tell us about your experience." He skips everything and then goes to after Nam. Doesn't explain what he did in Nam. And he's like, "I've been into crop dusting ever since." Right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Like, because that's how a dude who was hammered would probably answer that question. He's all over the place. It was great. It's honestly that this like 10 minutes of the movie is one of my favorite parts of the whole movie.
Right, because then we get that where they talk about the like what they're gonna do with the virus and everything. We get the marriage of Jasmine and Steve Hiller. We also kind of get the remarriage as well of David and Connie because they're all holding hands and she's like rubbing his ring and stuff. It's like, yeah, yeah. The
Well,
rubbing of the ring thing
one
was
thing I was
I
watching.
noticed that and I was like, huh, that's an odd thing.
Well, kind of, the one character who sort of fizzled out, like, is Connie, because she kind of ran out of things to do, they kind of ran out of things for Connie to do in the movie. Like at the beginning, she's like a White House aide. Well,
Hmm.
now it's like a wartime economy. Like what is there really for her to do anymore? And like she's only got like one or two scenes after this point in the movie, and I'm kind of grateful that they interjected that because like otherwise they could have just like kind of not included her in
Right.
the second or the last third of the movie.
Well, and because again, it's like what we were talking about them caring about the characters and all of these characters having an arc. Like, yes, her like major like things that she gets to do to help like the plot along kind of like fizzles out. But in order to still like wrap up her and David's like relationship and like their kind of storyline of like leaving them like that they're kind of being like they're willing to reconcile and stuff now due to this like great threat and everything uh is really awesome, and you got to take your wins when you can when aliens are invading earth.
It's all good. Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm a little bit of a critic. I can't think of her actual real life name, but like she's great in the movie. Loved it. I kind of felt because I think she only has like one more line like after this part in the movie, and like then she's just kind of in the background for the rest of it. But like realistically, she's there to be there for David's character, right? Like
Right.
that's what her purpose really is. I mean, she has the weakest arc of any character in the movie because she's really there to help David.
That's true. Margaret Collin is her name.
Okay, there you go.
Yep, as Connie. And then we get arguably the most memorable part of this entire movie, and it is I mean, I think it goes without saying that this is probably everyone's like favorite line. This entire speech that President Whitmore gives, the Good morning. Good morning. In less than an hour. Yeah, I'm not even going to do it, but we're going to put the clip in here for the pod, so people can watch that. But without a doubt, it's that speech. Like that is like my favorite line. Rewatching it still gets me pumped. Still gets the blood going, the like pulse pumping and stuff. Like I just love it.
Yeah,
And
so I wanted to tell a story about that, Jimmy. So when I was still on the police department, every year when I worked the 4th of July, I would go to like the 4th of July, parade or fireworks or whatever party was going on in town. I would park outside of it with the police car and I would play that over the loudspeaker in the police car. And like I might do it 3 or 4 times in a night. And every time I did it, whoever was nearby was like, yes! Like like it didn't matter. I could like turn the corner and do it again. And everybody, like literally you can play that cold to anybody and like someone's gonna know what it is, like get charged up. Like I even talking about it, I'm like ready to run through a brick wall right now. Like I love that scene so much.
I mean, it's iconic. It's so good. And like then we also get the flip side of like what for President Whitmore, Bill Pullman's character of like he suits up now with the pilots because everyone, this whole time he's been like, back when I was a pilot, it was easier, blah 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 blah, and all that stuff throughout the whole movie. Well, now he finally gets to put his money where his mouth is. I also love Will Smith's freak out of like of not having the cigars for like 2 seconds before Julius hooks him up. He's like, almost put a hex on the whole damn thing. uh then all the pilots are what? They're all loading up. Russ almost fires the rocket at probably like 2 or 3 other planes standing in front of him. Uh, Will Smith handing the cigar to Jeff Goldblum. This is a victory celebration.
It's important.
It's important. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Important. Not until the fat lady sings. Fat lady.
Yeah, the interaction because like those two really up until that point in the movie had not interacted at all, and I don't think they had interacted at all really up
Yeah,
until
no,
that
no,
point.
no. The first time they interact basically is is after David gives the speech of like, hey, this is our plan and stuff. And he goes to, Will Smith and he's like, so do you really think you can fly that thing? And Will Smith's like, do you really think you can do all that bullshit you just said? Which is an improvised line by Will Smith. Like
That's funny.
originally, like that scene is supposed to cut after like David says, do you really think you're supposed to fly it? And of course, Will Smith, being who he is, was like, oh, no, 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 I got a line. Do you really think you can do all that bullshit you just said? I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, no, those two like it's almost like it's almost like a buddy cop movie, right? Like the
Yeah.
two like instantly turn into a buddy cop movie, and which is like a whole like suddenly it's like almost a different movie with those two, right? Like you get the levity between those two. Really, the first time, I mean, other it's like David and his dad is like kind of the only other place of levity in like the whole movie, right?
Yeah.
And you get it like between like those two who are heroes of the movie. It's great. I love it.
I love it. And it's also funny in the commentary track. They basically say from that line, like, do you really believe all the bullshit? Um, they basically improvise a whole bunch between themselves, like Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum. And I love that. I love hearing that they were just like given free reign to like do whatever felt like right in the moment and everything. Uh, then they finally get ready to launch. We got the wrong instructions. that that little bit is one of the funniest things in the world. The wrong instructions where he like pulls back or like he pushes forward and he goes back and then and he's like, some guy, put the thing the wrong way for me. And he's like, oops. And that's where we get the first oops. I love that. And then when they're up in space taking controls, you're supposed to you didn't tell me that they were going to do this. oops, we got to work on our communication. I just love it. It's so good, the back and forth between them. Uh, what about you? Anything else with this? The bringing the people inside, the alien spaceships about to hit Area 51.
Yeah, well, as always, I watched all the RVs explode during the attack, and it made me sad. But no, that was, I think, that's what's her face's like last line is to like Adam Baldwin. She's like, "Oh, what about the people outside?" That's like her last like quote in the movie.
Yeah.
And I think she like runs out and helps people come into the movie. No, I love the sequence where and my son was like laughing when he crashes the spaceship and he's backing up. Like
Mhm.
again, not taking the movie too seriously. Stakes are still really high though.
Right?
So no, and that's kind of the thing about this movie is that like you can sit back and you can critique it but like each sequence kind of succeeds on its own like as like as we're going through like they all succeed like every sequence succeeds on its own and it's
Yeah.
like so rare like that you can't watch a movie like well I kind of fell out during like the middle third and then I came back like no they all work in their own way but those two like their interplay was it was amazing. Like it really did tie that last act of the movie together. And the oops thing, like, all right, that's Chekhov's gun, right? You gave the first oops, and it's
Yeah.
going to come up again a minute later. I appreciate that so much. Like, it's nice to have things that tie in together, right? And like, so that's kind of the thing. They have a relationship now. Like,
Right.
and a lot of the shots inside the spaceship are POV shots, right? It's like
Hmm.
shot reverse shot, and so it's almost like you, the viewer, are the other half, and you're like, well, which one am I? Am I Will Smith or am I Jeff Goldblum? Right? Oh, I'm probably Jeff Goldblum. So, it's such a cool. It was such a cool choice to have those two be like a buddy cop, and that I'm telling you, I love this whole sequence. I love the whole movie, but the
Right.
sequence, the last half hour, like, is
It
I
just
could watch it
hums,
again right
man.
now. I'd be totally happy. Yes.
Right? Like, they're entering the spaceship, they get to upload the virus, the attack on Area 51 starts to happen. The pilots from Area 51 start their run in and it's just great because we have the chaos. They're stuck up in the ship. The alien ship has the clamp on them. They close their window, but they're still trying to leave. Down below, everybody out of missiles. Nobody's got anything left. Uh, the two people supporting the president, his two wingmen, literally get shot out of the sky. And then finally, we get Russell Case. Sorry, Mr. President, I got held up back there. You're packing, pilot. I I love that in an action movie. Whether somebody's a pilot or just like in the army talking about a gun or anything like that, and they're like, "You packing?" I love that line. Has to be in an action movie, and if you don't, I think you are failing your action movie. and uh, but I love all this. Like the president tries to shoot his rocket, misses. This sequence has always reminded me too of Star Fox. The level in Star Fox for the N64. And like I think we even used to call it the Independence Day level at one point. Like it
100%.
and but it was kind of crazy though because it's like the same plot line. You have to shoot the bottom of their main primary weapon out and then the whole ship goes down. Which is exactly what they need to do here, except Russell Case when this is what I was also going to tell. So obviously Russell Case gets shown how to fly an F-18 when he's during all of this sequence and everything here. Everybody's flying the military like flight planes and everything. But originally he was supposed to come in his biplane that we saw his crop dusting plane earlier in the movie, and he was just supposed to like ram it right up there. They decided to switch it to what they do of like him being like him volunteering and then having to make this ultimate sacrifice when his rocket is jammed, because they felt that it would carry more emotional weight for him. And I absolutely agree on that. Like, I think if he just shows up in his biplane and he's like, I'm gonna get him, it's just kind of like, all right, this dude like has been crazy the whole movie. But
He's
then you
just a
give him,
psycho.
yeah, right. But you give him the choice here to look at the picture of his kids, make the decision for his kids, and be like, tell my kids I love them. And you get like his oldest son, who's actually not his son, as you were saying, like to be like, oh, that's my dad, like he finally takes ownership of him, in that sense. He's finally proud of him, it is just so good, man. I just love it.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it would have been cheapened to have him fly up in his biplane. I think he gets like his own little mini arc
right?
to get his military craft. One thing I was wondering is I wonder so they he jams the missile and that's like played for laughs. But I was like, oh man, like did the missile not fire because he screwed it up at the beginning? And uh you know like oh yeah, it was for yucks, but like there's actually like a consequence of it.
Yeah. Or was that always going to happen? And like
Right.
he just preempted, like he on the runway found that issue and should have called it out or whatever. But like, he's like, oh no, shit, I hit the wrong button. It's okay. I just don't want to
He doesn't
fire
know
him.
what he's doing, right? He's like
Yeah.
a drunk who just came in off the street. Now he has an F-18.
Yeah. Right. Tough, tough times. I love this when they light the cigars inside the ship and then they just like sit in the seats and stuff. They fire off the nuke and everything. Hello, goodbye. Do you think they know what's happening? No. Peace. I love it. It's so
I
good.
yeah, I love that sequence because it's like the first time. Because even when they shoot the alien in the lab, like he's kind of menacing, right?
Hmm.
Or he is super menacing even when they shoot him. But like this one, you like actually see the alien be afraid, right? Like he shrieks in horror as the nuke like comes into him,
Yeah.
which was great. It was like, you're kind of rewarding the audience. You're like, hey, that you get to see the aliens be afraid, which is nice. Because if they hadn't included that shot, there would have never been like the face of an alien knowing they lost. Like the ship would have just exploded, at the end. So that was cool. Also, like the peace is like it's iconic, right? Like, and so is the chase out of the spaceship. Um,
Yes.
like Jeff Goldblum hits the must go faster line, right?
Right.
On the way out, straight cue from Jurassic Park. I wonder
Right.
if there's any lore behind it.
Oh,
But
I am sure that they were like, we got to run it back, baby. We got to run this line back. Without a doubt, they were like, we got to run it back.
100%.
Um, but and then I love it. The rest of the aliens then start getting taken out. They lost contact with Stephen Hiller and David. We see them like getting brought in by the like exploding like pieces of the mothership and everything. Um, they get the little blip on the radar and they go fine. I do love when Dylan runs up to like Will Smith's character and he's holding him and they look out at the crash ship and like all the pieces from the mothership are coming down and he's like, "See, didn't I promise you fireworks?"
It's so happy, but I love it, right? Like it's like actually like it's a feel good moment.
Right,
I'm like, and people might like hear me say that and be like, "Oh, like Hammy is bad." Hammy is not bad. I'm totally okay with it, as
right,
long as it fits the genre, which it does.
right. And as long as I mean, Hammy's fine as long as it's even like earned in moments like that. Like they literally talk again. It's like the Chekhov's gun. Like you show it twice and then you finally use it. Like you talked about the fire. You talked about fireworks. You handed him the fireworks, and then he actually gets to see the fireworks. Not exactly what we all thought. It's the twist on it, and that's what's awesome. And then this movie's wrapped up, and so let's jump into some leftover favorites. Um, do you have any leftover favorite like action scene that or scenes that we haven't really talked about enough or that we didn't give enough detail to, do you think?
No, I think for me, I've hit the action scenes on the head. Um, One thing that I really liked, and it is in the movie, but it's also a special feature, and I mentioned it earlier, is like in the special features you can like watch all of the news clips like in greater detail. Like they're all in there. You can watch them all. And something that I really like about this movie is that it's so much world building, like explaining the state of the world, and it feels very lived in. Like something I noticed is when he was going over his plan, like, and he has like a whiteboard to talk about how like the alien ship works, and there's like little post-it notes on it with like more context and stuff. I was like, yeah, they really took the time to make this feel like it's just a real place with real people. And like I've sat before, not this time, but like I just watched all like the news clips. Like so cool. Like it expands the world just a little bit. And that goes so far into making like so we have all these like bombastic action scenes which are great in their own way, but like I love how real the world feels in this movie.
Right. Um, the only thing I can think of that I want to highlight is Hiller and Jimmy sequences. I think those things are a lot of fun, whether it's like the dogfight where Jimmy dies or whether it's where he's like where Jimmy's down on one knee and he has the ring for Jasmine and he's proposing and you see the guy in the background like just walk away. Um I mean, we kind of touched on it when we were talking in the meat and potatoes of it, but I do like the First Lady and Jasmine stories as or sequences as well. Like their stuff together is always really great. Um, overall, do you have a favorite character from this movie?
Realistically, Jeff Goldblum is probably my favorite character in the movie. I mean, he's my favorite character in most movies when he's in there, especially because, like you mentioned earlier, he's basically playing the same dude across like four movies. He's just the science guy, and in
Mhm.
this one, he like kind of like finally really nailed it. And even like it's funny because my son, he like we had to explain to him that he wasn't the same man from Jurassic Park. Like this is it's not the same guy. It's the same actor, but it's not the same man. But no, I really everybody loves Jeff Goldblum. He was great in this movie. Will Smith was uh, not we're not here to talk about the sequel, but like Will Smith might have saved the sequel if he was in it.
Yeah,
And the two of them together are iconic.
that's kind of where I'm at. I think like Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith as like a duo are up there as like some of the best duos ever. I I always got to put Bill Pullman up there because of the speech that he gives. You know, the Independence Day speech. I love it. The only other lines we've kind of talked about it already. Welcome to Earth. And then after he punches the alien, I also like the Will Smith saying, "Now that's what I call a close encounter." Also,
Yeah,
really
and
like,
the could have been at a barbecue line, right?
yeah,
Like
definitely. And like the work on the communication. There's so many great one line. Again, well written movie. It is a lot of fun. Uh, for the comic, did you ever read the comic?
well, so that's what we were kind of talking about before we got started. I'm sure I read the comic at some point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember it specifically, but I have like a bunch of like half remembered beta canon material that I can't I can't place all of it floating around in my head.
Nice. I will say, after reading it, it's basically broken down into three issues: a zero issue, issue one and two. Issues one and two basically break down the movie, for the most part. But the most interesting thing about the comic, in my opinion, was the zero issue, the beginning part of it, because it tells you the story of the first alien crash in 1947. It tells you the story of David hitting Senator Whitmore, tells you the story of Russell Case getting abducted, and it shows you Stephen Hiller, Will Smith's character, seeing the first like rocket like NASA launch, his first seeing his first launch of it, and like being like, oh, I want to do that someday. And yeah, so like if you get this thing's out of print now, so like I got lucky. My local comic shop still had it for the last like 30 years. So like I was able to pick it up. Actually I probably picked it up a little bit ago. I didn't pick it up. I probably picked it up like 5 years or so ago. But I go through random kicks like that. If I can find comic or book adaptions of like movies and stuff, I just snatch them up just because I want to see what it is. But with that, do you got any final thoughts before we go ahead and wrap this up?
No, I was going to say I think I read the official novelization back in the day, but what I was going to say is I have been to Roswell, New Mexico, and if that's where I got my little New Mexico sticker on my cup. But
Nice.
if you go to Roswell, New Mexico, there is like a little international UFO museum there, and like in the back corner of it, they have like a little Independence Day exhibit inside the museum. Absolute 100% tourist trap. I don't know that I would recommend the listener to go there. I was there for work, so I checked it out. But it's pretty cool stuff. And it was cool the way that they kind of tie it into like the real world 1947 crash. So I really appreciate that. Next time we're together, give me the Independence Day comic. I'll read it.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I love this movie. I literally I've been watching it every 4th of July since 1996, so now like 30 years. Um,
Jimmy, you and I probably watched this movie 200 times like together from like 1996 to 1998.
I yeah, zero argument,
like
you
like
know.
realistically we watched it and then there was like a tie-in PlayStation 1 game that I
Yep.
burned the disc out. I played it so much like renting it from Blockbuster. Like this I don't think I ever got past the first level, which was like a huge aerial battle. There was like a different computer game like demo that I had. Like, dude, I loved this movie back. I still do. I'm with you. I watch it every 4th of July. We don't
Yeah.
talk about the other one, but this one I watch,
Yeah, right? This one I still love. This one I still love.
yeah.
I guess before we sign off, anything else you want to say before we wrap up? Anything else we forgot?
No, I don't think so. I wish in my heart of hearts that like as a civilization we had the ability to make 90s sci-fi again. Like if we, like if we could somehow recapture that bottle, like I'm sitting here dying for more 90s sci-fi. That's all I watch, right? Like
Right?
I have my DVD collection. I was looking at it's all 90s sci-fi and other 90s movies. Like there's so few that come out now that haven't like this was kind of the probably the apex of 90s sci-fi. And I think that's why I love it.
Right? I couldn't agree more. I love this movie. This movie is a blast. But with that, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. I am Jimmy with the Triple C Collective, and this is.
I am Mike with Cozy Camper, an avid 90s sci-fi fan.
And we want to thank you all for joining us. Please like and subscribe to our video and to our channel. Please follow Cozy Camper on all of their socials. And we hope you all stay safe. And I think we're going to leave it with Welcome to Earth.